Hi everyone, welcome to Java Techie. Have you ever started a Spring Boot project that is initially clean and simple, but over the time everything got mixed up or the code base became confusing, where even a small changes feels risky? How will you design it better? Your first instinct might be to break it into a microservices, right? But what if you could keep your app clean, modular, and easy to scale without jumping straight into the microservices? Well, that's exactly where Spring Modulith can help you. Spring Modulith is a powerful approach that helps you structure your Spring Boot application in a clean and modular way where each feature is organized into its own independent module with clear boundaries, loose coupling, and event driven communication. So, no extra tools required, no complex setup, just better architecture inside your monolithic itself. Okay, so in this video, we'll explore Spring Modulith step by step, what it is, how it works, and we'll build a real world example to see it in action. Okay, alright. So without any further delay, let's get started. So before we directly jump into the example, first let's take a moment to understand why Spring Modulith matters with a real-time use case. Okay. Now imagine you are building a smart parking system. At high level, these are the core features you would expect: vehicle entry and exit, parking slot allocation to the vehicle, then do the billing and payments for the duration vehicle stay in your parking lot, then notification and reporting. Okay, now let's say a vehicle enter the parking lot, then the system should first find an available slot, allocate it, and notify the user saying that this particular slot is assigned for your vehicle, and this process keep repeats for every new vehicle that enters to the parking lot, right? Now when a vehicle exit, then first we need to free up the slot, calculate the billing amount, and again notify the user saying that this is what your payment details. And that's the basic flow of any smart parking system, right? Now let's say you are building this application using a traditional monolithic approach. Then what usually we do, we'll write all the features, services, and logic, everything in a single project, which always easy to build and deploy at first, but as the application grows, it becomes a mess to maintain, scale, or even understand. Things get tightly coupled, and changing one part might break 10 others part. Okay, that's why many developers start thinking, hey, let's switch to the microservices. So imagine this same application you want to redesign with microservices mindset. Now, what you will do? We'll keep each domain like vehicle entry, billing slot allocation, and notification as a separate service, and everything will be independent, decoupled, and easy to scale. That sounds great, right? But wait, can we just migrate a big monolithic application to microservices in one go? Not at all. Without understanding the full complexity of the monolithic, we cannot transitioning to microservices because we never know what part we missed or what we break. That's a big problem, isn't it? And it seems we'll end up creating more problem rather than solution. Now you might be thinking, I don't want to stick with a messy monolithic, but I'm not ready for full microservices either. So what's the middle path? Well, that's where Spring Modulith comes into the picture. Spring Modulith is a new architecture and development approach introduced by the Spring team. It lets you design your monolithic application in a modular way, just like microservices, without the complexity of distributed system. That's out of the box, isn't it? So the way we keep everything independent in microservice architecture, similarly, Modulith stands for modular plus monolith. It means within your monolithic, we can keep each and every domain as a individual modules. You can visualize this particular picture, right? So here, if you observe, we are keeping each module clean and we segregate module based on each domain, right? We have separate domain for vehicle entry and exit, parking slot, and payment and notification. Now let's understand few more features of Spring Modulith. Now if you are using Spring Modulith, then you will achieve clear modular boundaries. So if you observe this particular architecture, each modules handles one responsibility, clean and organized. So the first module will deal about your vehicle entry and exit. The second module will deal about slot allocation. Each module have their own responsibility and one responsibility. Okay. Then loose coupling. Now if you observe here, modules don't rely heavily on each other, which is easy to change or scale. Next, asynchronous communication. Now, if my modules talk to each other, they can talk either using events or they can define the ports in each module and they can call them directly similar to the rest. Okay, instead of doing HTTP call, each module can connect to other module either using port or using application event. Runtime observability. You can monitor how your modules interact live insights, no guesswork. You can visualize everything. Module level testing. If you want, you can test individual modules like the way we can test individual microservices. Similar way, within monolithic, if you want to validate a single module, you can write the test case for it and you can execute it. These are the powerful key factors which make Spring Modulith more popular. Okay, don't worry, we'll design the same application in action, then you will understand how Spring Modulith is powerful. Okay, let's go to our Spring initializer. We'll create a new project from the scratch. So let's create a Spring Boot project first. We are using latest version of Spring Boot 3.5.3. Then I will name it Smart Parking System JDK21. Now let's add all the required dependency. We'll add web dependency. We'll add Lombok. Then we need database integration. So I need JPA and MySQL connector. Then since we are using Spring Modulith, you can add Modulith dependency. All good. Generate the project. Then import it in your IntelliJ IDEA. So this is what our project. If you'll check the pom.xml, we are using 3.5.3. Then all the dependency whatever we added. Okay. And if you observe here, there are two more dependency for Spring Modulith. Now let me add one more dependency for Swagger. Just update it. All good. Now what is our first goal? Since we are using Spring Modulith and if you understand this flow correctly, our first task to segregate each domain as a individual modules. Now if you see these features, we have something called track vehicle entry and exit. Can we keep it as an individual module because it does completely independent task? Then slot allocation, we can keep this slot allocation as an individual module. Billing and payments, notification reporting. Each feature is doing something unique. It's not mixed up, right? So can we keep each feature as a individual modules in Spring Modulith? Yes, that is what we are going to do. Okay, if you could do it using microservices, you will keep each of them. You will create individual microservice for each of them. But in Spring Modulith, for each of them, we'll create individual module within the monolithic application. Okay, so let's start creating the modules. Modules is nothing, will be defined as a individual package in monolithic. Okay, we are not going to use the multi-module project to make the things heavy, since Spring Modulith says just segregate or just modular using the structural package. That's what we are going to follow. Okay, so let me create the module first, all the modules. So I'll create a module called entry, who will keep all the information of vehicle entry and exit. Then I will create another module called allocation. Then we'll create notification, and we'll create another module called billing. Now here each module will have their own logic. This entry will handle all the vehicle entry and exit related stuff. This billing, all the payment related stuff. Allocation will handle all the slot allocation and removing the slot or free up the slot once vehicle exit. All these things will be handled individually. Okay, that is the reason we keep each package as an individual module in Spring Modulith. Next, since you have the DV connection, let me add the data source dot properties. All good. Now let's start writing logic on each and every modules. Let's begin with the entry. Now in this entry, what I'll do, I'll just create an entity first. I'll name it parking entry. So in this parking entry, we'll keep all the information about the vehicle. What is the vehicle number? What is the entry time of that vehicle? When it exit? Whether it is active or not? Everything we can keep inside this parking entry. So let me add those fields. Okay. ID, vehicle number, entry time and exit time, and whether the vehicle is active or not. Now let me create a parking entry repository. So this is plain JPA repository. Now similarly what I will do, first let me define all the entity and required repository. Similarly for entry in this particular allocation also, we need to keep the slot entity and slot repository, right? So let me create an entity called slot, and we'll keep this information ID, slot code, or something like this, A1, B1, something like this. Okay, we are keeping it very simple like this. And once vehicle enter, it will be available. I mean, once slot assigned to the vehicle, it will be true. Once it exit, it should update to the false. And vehicle number assigned to that particular slot. Okay. Now let me create a slot repository. Same JPA repository we are going to use. So here define parking entry and its repository, slot and its repository. Now what we can do, let's populate few slot in our database. So what I can do, I'll go to the main class and I'll use command line runner to hardcode few slot object in the DV. So if you see here, ID will be auto generated, slot code A1, A2, B1, available by default, it is available, and there is no vehicle associated to this particular slot. Okay, so we are hard coding few slot object to the DV so that we can perform the entry and exit of vehicle. Fine, let me clear these things now. Now let's start with the entry. So if you can remember this particular flow, what do you understand? Once vehicle enter to the parking lot, we'll allocate a slot to that vehicle and then we'll send notification to the user. Let's begin with the first flow. Now let me create in the entry, I'll create something called entry service. Now in this entry service, what we can do? First define it as a Spring Bean @service annotation. Then we'll do the three tasks. We'll save vehicle entry to database. Then second, allocate a parking slot. Then next, send notification to the user. Okay, these are the three steps we are going to execute once vehicle enter to the parking lot. Now let me create a method public void vehicle entry. Now what we can do here? First step, let's add the vehicle entry to the DV or parking entry to the DV. Okay, so for that what I can do, I will build the parking entry object. Now since we have the all argument constructor, we can define all the value here. ID will be auto generated, so keep it null. Then vehicle number, and entry time is nothing, your current timestamp, right? So I am using local date time now. Exit time, we don't know when it will exit, when the vehicle will exit, we'll update this value. And active, yes, true. Now what we can do, we'll save this particular parking entry to the DB. So to save that, what we can do, first we need to inject that as a dependency. We can inject this. Do the constructor injection. Now I can simply call repository.save parking entry. Better name it parking entry. Fine. Now once we save it to the DB, what is the next step? Allocate a parking slot. Now slot allocation to the vehicle, should I write that logic in this entry module? No, right? If we'll write here, then there is no sense to use the Spring Modulith. We can go for the monolithic approach. Since we want to segregate the business functionality, we have created different module. So all the slot allocation related stuff we should write in this allocation module, okay, in this particular module. So to avoid this kind of conflict and to not mix up the code, what we can do, once we execute the vehicle entry, once we save the parking entry object, immediately for the slot allocation, we will publish an event. Now slot allocation service, this particular module will write another service called, let's say, Java class slot allocation. This particular service will consume that particular event what we are publishing from here. Okay, so we can simply publish the event, but we are not going to use the Kafka because this is not two different services, right? Within the same monolithic, we have two different module, allocation and entry. So we can use the application event. So if you remember, already I covered a dedicated video about how to play with application event and publisher and consumer. You can take a look. I will also share the link in video description for your reference. Now for now, what I can do, I will inject private final application event publisher. Just define it as part of your constructor. Next, you have this publisher. You can simply call publisher publish event. You can create an event called new vehicle entered event. Okay, so let me create this particular event. So for that, to keep it better or to keep it clean, what I will do, I will create another package, not package, you can consider it as a module called event, which can be a shared module within this Spring Modulith. Okay, so in this event, I'll create a Java class, or you can better create a record called vehicle entered event. Now here, what all field you want to send to the allocation service, because if you see here, this particular event we are sending to whom? We are just publishing it. Allocation service will consume it and allocate the slot. So you can give the vehicle number, entry time and exit time. Exit time is not required. Vehicle number and entry time. Okay. So what I will do, define the variable string, go to the entry service, simply you can input this, we are good. So on vehicle entry, we save the parking entry object with the vehicle number and current timestamp as a entry time. Then we simply publish the event. Now if you understand this particular flow, once vehicle entered, system should allocate the slot and it should send the notification to the user. It means on vehicle entered event, these two tasks needs to execute, right? Now since we are publishing the event from the entry service, that this particular event needs to consume by this slot allocation service to allocate the slot on vehicle entered to the parking lot. Okay, so for that what I can do, I'll just define your @service. Now how this particular class slot allocation service will act as a consumer to this particular event. So for that, what you can do, first let me define a method, public void handle entry, okay, handle vehicle entry. Now what event this method should listen? This one, vehicle entered event, right? How you can mark this particular method as a consumer to listen this particular event? You can simply annotate here event listener. Okay, this way this particular method will act as a consumer. Once this particular event will published, this particular method will auto execute asynchronously. Similar with the Kafka, we have producer and consumer. This particular method will be your consumer and this particular line will be your producer. Okay, this is a simple pub/sub mechanism within the monolithic using application event publisher. Fine. Now once this slot allocation service got the event, what it will does, it will first find the available slot to allocate, correct? Then update the slot status or slot db. That's it, right? So let's execute this or just define the step for this. First let me inject the slot repository here. Now how you can get the available slot to allocate to the vehicle what you are getting as part of the event? So if you check the slot object, let's go to the slot entity, we have something called available. Okay, so we can simply use the Spring Data API query, find first by available true. That will give you the slot object whose value is true, which is not assigned to any vehicle. Okay, so what I can do, I'll just define a method here, optional of find first by available true. This particular method is understood by Spring Data API. Find first by is the prefix based on what field you want to fetch and what is the value you are expecting for that to fetch. This is a simple method. Okay, now go to your allocation service. What you can do here, simply called repository dot find first by available true or else throw some exception, no available slot. Okay, get the slot object. Now what is the next step? Once you get the slot object, assign the vehicle number what entered to the parking lot. So what you can do, first mark slot dot set available as a false, because you are going to assign this particular slot to some vehicle. What vehicle? You can just add it. Okay, then simply save this to the dv slot repo dot save slot object. Let me clear this. Okay, hope you got the context how this method will execute. From entry service, we are not directly creating the object of slot allocation service or accessing it. Rather, we are just doing the event driven communication. Okay, now what next? Let me just add a log statement. For now I will just add sysout saying that allocated slot, this is the code to this particular vehicle number. Okay, simple SOPLN I have added. Now who else needs to listen to this particular event? If you again look into the picture, we allocate the slot. Now what next? We need to notify to the user saying that okay, this is the vehicle number, this particular slot is allocated. Okay, so for that what you can do, you can go to your notification and simply create a Java class saying that notification service, simply annotate @service, define public void notify on vehicle entry instead of hardcode the vehicle number. What it listen? It will listen to the vehicle entered event. And how we can define it as a consumer using event listener. So this is the simple message I have added. Now instead of just printing the message, you can integrate email notification service or mobile OTP based notification service using Twilio. Okay, so it is up to you. Better let's not make it complex. Just add the SOPLN. So we are done with the fast flow. On vehicle enter, we allocate the slot and we notify to the user by event, not by any direct method call. So now if you want to validate whether you are following the proper Spring Modulith or not, what you can do, for now let's go to the test class and you can define here application modules of your application name dot verify. Define a variable, let's say modules, and if you want to write the document or if you want to generate the diagram, you can do that. So let's say new document. This is what you are generating the diagram, but you don't want to generate the diagram and you want to write the document, just define dot write document. Up to you. Okay, that's not important. Things we want to validate whether so far we are going with the correct Spring Modulith approach or not. Let's run it. It is giving green. It means so far we are going good. There is no mistake. We are following the proper Spring Modulith. So we are good. Now let's move to the next flow on vehicle exit. Okay. So on vehicle exit, what you want to do? We want to free the parking slot and do the billing and notify to the user. So let's create another service called exit service on entry module. Okay, because this entry module will deal about the vehicle entry and exit. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this. Then what I can do, just change it to vehicle exit. Remove everything. So I need the parking entry repository. I need the publisher to publish the event. If I'll publish the event, then only this slot allocation service will consummate and billing service will consummate to process the things asynchronously. That is the reason we need this publisher. So now what we can do here, once the vehicle came for exit, first get the entry from the DB. Okay, get details from the database, then update exit time. Okay, then simply save it to the DB or update to the DB, whatever you can consider. Then next publish exited event. These are the simple steps we are going to do. Okay, first get the vehicle entry details from the database. So what I can do, I will just use repository find vehicle number and active true. Okay, so I'll create this particular method in the database. Now what this method will does, it will get the parking entry object by vehicle and checking the active value as a true. This is the simple Spring Data API query. Once you get the entry, then what next? We need to update the exit time, then update to the DB. So what we can do, get the entry, set exit time. What is the exit time? The time is the current time. Okay, the time when exit, just define the current timestamp. Then mark the set active as a false. Then simply update to the DB. Repository.save entry. Then what is the next step? Publish vehicle exited event. So publisher dot publish will change the event name to, better go to this particular event, copy this, paste it. I will create another event called exited event. Now what value we need to pass here? We need to pass the what is the vehicle number, what is the entry time and exit time. That's it. So that based on the entry and exit time, billing service, this particular service which you have not started writing, this particular service will listen to it and calculate the total time difference between entry and exit and set some amount as a billing amount. So I'll just define local date time, exit time. Now go here, simply change the event to vehicle exited event, vehicle number, entry time and exit time. Simple thing, right? On vehicle entry, we have vehicle entry service, we handle the vehicle entry event, and this is for vehicle exit. Now, who will listen to this particular event? If you look into the flow again, once vehicle will go for exit, that particular things needs to be execute in the slot allocation. I mean, slot allocation service needs to free up that parking slot, and billing service needs to process for the billing amount. So this particular event will be next consumed by all the three module. Okay, so use this particular event, go to the slot allocation first, free up the slot, go to the slot allocation service, define a method public void handle vehicle exit. It will listen to what? Vehicle exited event. Fine. Let me remove this top. My AI is already adding those things to me, so let's remove it. Now what we can do here, handle vehicle exist, first get the assigned slot to the vehicle, then free up that. Okay, when I'm saying free up, just set the available as a true and remove the vehicle from that slot. So for that, first I need to get the slot assigned to the vehicle, right? So what I can do, slot repository dot find by vehicle number. Can I get like this? So let's create this particular method in our slot repository. Fine, go back. So what we are doing here, first getting the slot object from the DV, it will return with the optional. If it present, then we are setting the slot available as a true. Okay, I mean we are just setting it, or I'll write a note here. Okay, free the slot, and vehicle number we are keeping as a null. We are just updating the slot object. Then we are just highlighting, okay, we free this particular slot from this particular vehicle, and if there is any error, we are throwing no slot found for vehicle this. Okay, this is the simple thing. Now what next? Slot allocation service, free the slot. Next is the billing service, who needs to evaluate the payment amount. Okay, so what I can do, let's go to the billing service. Let me close everything. In billing service, let me create one entity, Java class billing record, then just define few field. ID will be auto generated, vehicle number, what is the amount he paid, and the bill time. Then just simply create a billing record repository, extends it from JPA repository. Then simply let's create a new class called billing service, annotate this @service. Then what this particular class will do, it will simply consume the vehicle exited event. See here, this billing service will consume the vehicle exited event and process the billing amount by checking the when it entered to the lot and when it returned back. Okay, so let me inject the private billing record repository. Now I'll write a method here, public void handle exit. I need to disable this AI generated code. Okay, handle vehicle exit. Now this method will be my listener, who will listen to the event on vehicle exit, sending from the exit service. If you see here, this one. Okay, just take this particular event, go to your billing service, listen to this particular event, Now what it will does, it will get the entry time and exit time difference, and let's say the default we are keeping as a 50 per hour. Then based on that we will do some random calculation. Okay, so let's say duration between entry time and exit time, you will get the entry time and exit time from the event, right? Exit time, get the duration, then what we can do, we'll set some amount. Okay, so per hour 50, like this we have used some math.marks and we divided by 60, like this we keep some default calculation. Now we'll just update this value to the db. Okay, so create a billing record object, id will be not null, and vehicle number, amount, the exit time is nothing, your billing time. Then simply I will save this particular object to the db. Repo dot save record, what is the repository? Billing record repo. Just change it. Now I will just add a sysout statement saying that just added some meaningful log message. All good, right? Now what is left? The billing amount is done. Now the exit event needs to update to the user by this notification service as well. So for that, what I can do, I'll go to the notification service. Here I'll write another method, public. Okay, now it will listen to the which event? Vehicle exited event. So simple thing. All the communication we have done using the event only, and we are using application event publisher. So using that we can publish the event and consume using this event listener. So let's add the annotation here as well. If you miss this annotation, this method will never execute. Okay, this method will behave as a normal method, it's not act as your consumer. So once you annotate this, based on this particular event, whoever will publish, this guy will listen, this particular method will listen to that particular event name and execute the things. Okay, this is the simple flow. Now see the code, isn't it clean and well organized with modular approach? Now, if someone joined new to the team and he wanted to debug something on billing related stuff, he can directly go to the billing and execute it. He can write the test case for this particular billing module and he can check his business logic. Okay. Now, all good. We are define all the modules with all required methods, classes, everything. Now, how can I access this exit service and entry service? So it's simple thing, nothing to do. We just need to define one controller class. Okay, so just define two endpoint to validate entry and exit flow. Now what I can do, let's start the application first. Now go to the main class, run the application. So it started, it created the table, you can see here. Does it populated the value to the slot? Let's check that in the db directly. Now create a SQL query. So you can see it added the 3 record to the slot object. Okay, and do you have any parking entry? No. Any billing record? No. All good. Now go to the Swagger. So we have two endpoint, exit and entry. Now first entry few vehicle, then we'll validate the exit flow. Let's say I want to try it out. Some random value I am giving vehicle number. Okay. Now execute, vehicle entered. Now if you see the log statement here, can you see here? Allocated slot A1 to vehicle this, then notification vehicle entered at this time. These two service will execute. What is this? This is slot allocation service and this is notification service. How it is being executed? Because these two service consume the vehicle entered event and that's how they are executing the things. Can you see here? Now let's validate the same thing in the DB. Slot A1 must be 0 because it is already assigned to whom? this particular vehicle number. Now go here, parking entry. You can find ID1 active is true. This is the entry time of the vehicle. Exit time, because it didn't exit, it is still null. And this vehicle number. If you check the billing record, you won't find anything because vehicle is still active in the parking. Can you see here? Now let me add one more record. Let's say now see here, allocated slot A2 to vehicle, this number, and notification is this. If you check in the DV, there will be the another parking entry for this particular vehicle on this time slot. If you will see, two slot already booked, A1 and A2. Now if I will send request for another vehicle, it will assign this particular slot. If you have 10 slot, it will check whose value is true, get the first object and assign that to the vehicle. Okay, that is what the query we have defined using Spring Data API. Now there will be no billing record. So we are good here. Now let's do one thing. Let's validate the exit flow. Let me copy this vehicle number. Okay, before that let me clear everything. Go to the exit endpoint, try it out, give the vehicle number, click on execute. We got the message vehicle exited. This is the number. So if you see here, bill, this is the amount for vehicle, this notification. So if you understand this, on vehicle exit, this slot allocation service should free up the slot, billing service will execute this, and notification will execute this. But somehow we are seeing the log for these two. Why there is no allocation? Okay, let's validate in the DV. Parking entry, this. Okay, this guy, the first one is exited, and this is the time. What slot assigned to this guy? Let's see. Okay, this is not executing. Okay, let's see the code. Go to the allocation service, exit vehicle, where it is. Yeah, this one. Okay, so the problem here, see here, we have defined the methods on vehicle exit, sending from the exit service, who should consume it, this guy. But this guy is your consumer. How Spring will know this is your consumer? We forgot to define the annotation event listener. Okay, now restart the application, clear everything, go to the DV. Let's not toss this particular record. Okay, this guy, this is already corrupted. Let's use this one to validate the exit flow, or if you want, we can add another entry. Okay, go to the entry, we'll add some vehicle, execute. This vehicle is entered, validate in the DV. This is the new vehicle. What slot assigned to it? B1. Okay, you can see in the log also, B1 is assigned to this particular vehicle. Clear everything, we are good here. Now what we can do, go to the DV, not DV, go to the Swagger, and let me try exit this particular vehicle. Okay, now click on execute. Vehicle exited. Now if you see here, see the message here, for that particular vehicle we assign the B1. So in log we are defining, we freed the slot B1 from this particular vehicle. For that vehicle the amount is this to pay. This is the vehicle number, this is the entry and exit time. You can send this over the email or SMS. Okay, then notification service, vehicle has exited, thank you for visiting. Can you see the messages? Now if you will validate in the DV, parking entry, you will find the DL record, DL vehicle, entry and exit is correct. Now for this particular vehicle number, you will find the slot is free. The B1 is free now. No vehicle assigned to this particular slot. Now if you will see the billing record, you have this particular result. He paid 20 rupees. Okay, so this is how you can play with the Spring Modulith, and you can define each your domain as an individual module. You will get the same flavor as a microservices without the need of any distributed infrastructure. So it is looks similar as a microservices, isn't it? In microservices also, for allocation, billing, entry, event, you will create a different microservices. Here within your monolithic, you are modularized based on the domain. Okay, and do you know the main advantages of this particular Spring Module? You already modularized your application. Okay, you already segregate your domain. In future, if you want to transition from monolithic to microservices, 80% of work you already did. Okay, the complexity part to segregate the business based on the domain, that part you already did here. Only things you need to focus on the infrastructure setup. Okay, so Spring Modulith will also help you to smoothly transition from monolithic to microservices. So just give a try with Spring Modulith. Try exploring more about Spring Modulith from the official page, and do let me know in a comment section if you have any doubts.